A lot of stuff involving Marjorie Taylor Greene today. In addition to the fact that there is a trove of texts to Mark Meadows, the chief of staff, Donald Trump's chief of staff, at the end of his term. She had texted him on January 6th and in the days following and before. We will get to that later. Also, I just want to just point out and make a point of this, and I will reiterate this later. She was sworn in days early. It was like January 2nd. Is it when you get sworn in? Backbencher, theoretically, we're told she's insignificant, right? No. She had the chief of staff to the president of the United States cell phone number within days of being sworn in. This is a freshman congressperson. And, granted, now she's one of the top fundraisers for the Republicans. I could understand why that would happen at a time like now. But at that time, very interesting. In and of itself, it seems to me to be fairly unique. We'll ask about that later. But she was down at the border. Kevin McCarthy has pulled out all the stops to make sure that the audio that came out about him dissing Donald Trump is being ignored. And so they head down to the border. The Biden administration is looking to rescind Title 42, which is an ancient statute about immediately ejecting immigrants or not even allowing them to go through the process of determining whether their refugee status or their immigrant status would be recognized by the United States on the grounds of health issues, supposedly COVID-19 in this instance. As you know, if you are in America, we are convinced that there is no more COVID-19. It is completely irrelevant. And therefore, it seems absurd that we would keep immigrants out based upon that notion. As the COVID-19 that we have here, 35% rise in hospitalizations in New York State alone, is irrelevant. No reason to think that anyone else's COVID would be any more relevant. But so this is being rescinded in the third week of May. A Trump-appointed judge just ruled that there cannot be any waivers to it that have been going on apparently at the border without determining whether or not the Biden administration can rescind Title 42. Here is Marjorie Taylor Greene speaking at the border, talking about what will happen if Title 42 is repealed. This is essentially Donald Trump coming down the escalator and coming out and saying, some of them are probably good people, but the rest are rapists.
The human suffering that has happened and is happening and will happen if Title 42 is repealed and lifted, and the amount of people that are expected to come across this border starts coming, this will bring human suffering, death, and crime like we have never seen. And we're already seeing it at numbers and elevated numbers that we've never witnessed before in our lives. Imagine being a mother and you
Stop for one moment. None of what she said is true. I mean, it's sort of hard to sort of nail down what she's saying, but the crime and human misery that we're seeing right now, we've seen before. In fact, I'm not even clear what crime and misery she's talking about. There is no indication that there is a jump in crime because of immigrants in this country or misery. If she's very concerned about the misery, she should probably talk to her fellow lawmakers who have allowed the one measure that lifted half of children in this country out of poverty, who are in poverty, and has been rescinded. That, if they're worried about that type of human suffering, she might want to look into that. But let's continue here.
Imagine being a mother and you can't let your children go play outside in the yard because there are people that you don't know who they are invading your country, coming across your property, and imagine what they could do to your kids. Imagine being a woman and you're just trying to get your groceries out of your car to carry them in the house, and you are faced with men who don't even belong in your carport, and that's where they are because they invaded our country.
I mean, they're back. They're back. Gearing up for it. More on that as the program continues.